It is 7 degrees here today, negative 17 wind chill, and believe it or not, it's time to garden. All right, welcome. It's 5 degrees outside, and it's terrible. It's been horrible this whole winter. There's about a foot of ice on the ground at this point from slowly melting. And despite all that, it's time to start gardening. So we're going to start today our onions, our scallions, our leeks, and some celery. They don't need a lot of time to get going. And normally I would start them in January. It's early February here, but I just didn't. So we're going to start them now. So first thing we're going to do is get our cell trays loaded up. I'm using Pro Mix this year. A lot of times I've used the Jiffy Mix, which works good enough too, but I don't like buying a ton of bags if I don't have to. So I bought one big bale of Pro Mix. I think it was like $35 from a feed mill right down the street from me. So if you have that available, maybe give it a shot. I've tried Miracle Grow, all the different stuff. It all works pretty well, honestly. Whatever's cheapest. Eventually, all this stuff's going in the ground anyway, so don't overthink it. The goal this year really is to make the garden as simple as possible. I find I spend a lot of time every year planning for the garden and buying a million seed packs that I don't have room for, and then starting all those seed packs and spending all this time in my shop here where the grow lights are. They're behind me. Trying to keep it all alive, and then it comes time to plant out and I have no room. And then what do? You jam it all in your garden anyway, and everything kind of suffers. So we're not going to do that this year. Famous last words. I know I will probably plant everything too close like usual, but I'm going to do my best not to do that. I am making a concerted effort this year to not plant my peppers so close. You know, they say you can do 1.5 feet, and I just have not found that to be true. They need 2 feet. Last year, they were just growing into each other like a hedge, which was kind of cool, but definitely made harvesting a challenge. And like I said, the fewer challenges this year, the better. We want to enjoy the garden. We don't want to work for the garden. All right, and one thing I like to do when I'm filling these up to make it a little easy on myself is just get it in there pretty good, and then you can kind of just smash them together like that. And then just push them down, top it off, smooth it off, move on. All right, 2 left of these, and then we'll fill that tray up. Try and keep the compacted lumps out. You can break them up, but these are pretty. This has been sitting in the shop here, and it's been below freezing for like 2 weeks, so it's pretty hard. I don't feel like fighting with it. So you just want to get them pretty consistently filled. You don't want a lot of gaps in there because that'll screw up the root systems. And what's nice about these is they have like a little section on the side where the air can get to, so they'll kind of air prune, so they won't do that like curly Q thing that you'll get in a lot of other cell trays, which seems to help out. Honestly, once you get everything in the ground, it's usually pretty happy, no matter how you treated it in the cell tray. Another thing we're doing here too is I like to use these big flat trays. So this one has no holes in the bottom. This one does. So what you can do with that is fill these all up, and then you can bottom water, and you can do it real easily by just lifting this out and having it all full with water. Put it in, let it get its water, pick it up when it's done, dump out the excess. You don't really need to do it with these trays, but with these, it's a huge benefit because otherwise you're taking all these out individually, and that's super annoying. So we're not going to do that. Okay, we'll fill this one up now. I usually like to work in a little more space. I have a nice potting bench I picked up off Facebook Marketplace last fall. But like I said, it's 5 degrees outside, so we're doing this in the shop. I'm going to get my shop all dirty. That's all right. So you're kind of just getting that in there as good as you can the first round. Try not to get all over the ground here. fail. That's okay. Couple big chunks. All right, so now you just kind of want to go through and dimple them all down, and we'll go over and top it off again. Looks good. All right, the excess off. We're ready to go. So, we're going to be starting some onions. I'm in zone 7A, Southeastern Pennsylvania. I'm doing Walla Walla. A bunch of different kinds of leeks. Grew a bunch of leeks last year. They were delicious. They lasted in the garden much longer than I would have thought. So we're going to do King Richard, American Flag, and Carentan. And then over here, we're going to do a bunch of different scallions. We got Hashiko, Nabuka, and Toiko. And then we got our celery, Utah Tall. A lot of this stuff's from M.I. Gardener, a couple things from Botanical Interests. I shop around, usually wherever's cheapest. Most seeds germinate really well, so unless there's a variety you really want, just find whatever's cheapest. This is supposed to be kind of a cost-saving measure if you can. I mean, a lot of times having a garden isn't cheap, but we're going to try and make it cheaper now that we have an established garden. We don't need a lot of inputs this year. If you do need inputs, you know, that's okay. Get your garden going the best you can to start out, and then hopefully it can care for itself through collecting compost and minimal fertilizer. We try at least. So we'll get started here. So the first thing we want to do is label everything. So these little cheap labels. I'd like better ones someday, but again, we're trying to keep this cheap. So I'll label all these up. And I'm not trying to make it fancy. I'm not even writing the full name out, just King for King Richard. I know what that is. If you want to make it look nice and pretty, go for it. But usually this is just to separate it out before I put it in the garden. Once it's in the garden, you can kind of tell. Maybe not so much with the leeks, but for the bunching onions, the scallions, I call them scallions. Everyone calls them bunching onions and spring onions. I'm going to call them scallions because that's how my brain is wired. But for these, we like to, every 2 weeks, start a new bunch. That way you're succession planting them because you can only eat so many at once. Love them in stir fries and on top of tacos and salads, but we only need so many. So we'll start a couple of 6-packs today, and then a few weeks from now, we'll start some more, and then we'll just have a good system going when we're out in the garden. So let's kind of figure out how many we want to grow of everything here. So we'll start with the Walla. And I think these are 12 by 8 cells. So we're going to do at least half onion. And they're 16 by 8, not 12 by 8. So that'll be the Walla. And then we'll do King, American, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we'll just do 2 of the Carentan. And if we have some leftover 6-packs over here, which we will, we'll do extra leeks. And I like to multi-sow the leeks, like anywhere from 3 to 5 seeds per cell. And they just grow fine next to each other and actually save some space, and you don't have to plant each individual leek out. The onions, I won't be multi-sowing. I'm going to do 2 or 3 seeds per cell, but I will thin them out so there's only one. I want them to be able to focus on getting large. The leeks don't mind being crowded a little bit. Over here, you don't need a lot of celery. We grew celery last year and it turned out amazing. It's really difficult to get to germinate. Got to keep it wet. It's a swamp plant, but once it's out in the garden, it just takes care of itself, and you don't need to harvest the whole thing. You can just rip stalks off. And if you do harvest the whole thing, it'll come back. And so we had celery from around like April, May till the first heavy frost killed it off. So that was a nice surprise. All right, now we're pretty ordered here. Got a lot of extra 6-packs. I may not even fill them today. I might just wait. We'll kind of see how I'm feeling as we go along here. But we'll get started with the onions. And of all the things to grow, I think onions might be the most difficult for me for some reason. I see a lot of people don't have any problems growing onions, but I always do. Last year we had gigantic onions. They looked amazing. And then it rained the whole 2 weeks we were looking to harvest them, and they got all kinds of fungal problems, and yeah, most of them didn't survive. But that's all right. Onions are cheap in the store, so you don't have to worry about it. So I'm just putting about 2 to a cell here. There is approximately 75 seeds in each packet here. So not a ton. I mean, you can go through 75 onions pretty fast. And like I said, we're going to be thinning these out. So if I put 2 to a cell, we're losing half them. So now what I like to do for the onions and for most seeds, you don't have to bury them too deep. I made that mistake the first few years I was gardening. You really just want to put them on the middle of the soil, push it down a little bit, scrape some soil over top. You're good to go. Again, don't overthink it. On the back of the seed package, you'll see recommended depths and all that stuff, but unless you're going to pull out like a mini ruler and try and figure that out, just don't bother. Okay, so the onions and the leeks are all sown here. Looks good. We'll get this watered when we go inside. I'm going to put these under grow lights inside. It's still too cold out here to risk it. Next up is our scallions and celery. Scallions, I'm going to do the same thing, multi-sow them anywhere from 3 to 6 seeds per cell. These are nabucas. And just sprinkle in a couple in the middle there, and we'll come over top of it and flatten it all down. I like to get them all set up first. All right, good. I used to hydrate the soil first with water, but I found like when I'm sowing the seeds, it just makes it more difficult. My fingers start sticking to the wet soil, and then the seeds are sticking, and it just makes it a little more difficult. So I keep it dry now. We're going to bottom water it when we're all done anyway, so the soil's going to be plenty hydrated for these little dudes. The onion seeds are pretty easy to sow. We're going to move on to the celery soon, and they are very tiny. And so we won't really be doing the same thing with the celery. We're just going to put that really just on top of the soil. Barely brush any soil on top of it. And these are the hashiko. Beautiful. So we'll get these covered up now. So a lot of times people will use a little divot tool to try and measure it. I find just using your finger, just push it down a little bit gently and then brush the soil over 2 ways and then press it down again. So push it down, brush the soil, push it down. That seems to work pretty good for almost all seeds. I might spend a little more care and attention with the tomato and pepper seeds, just because you only get one shot with tomatoes and peppers in the season, and I don't want to go to the big box store and have to buy tomato plants for $8 because I messed up the sowing. But we're not going to. Scallions, you can buy them for $1, so just be zealous with it. Okay, and the last thing we're going to start is the celery. These seeds are really tiny. So I'm going to try for 2 to 3 seeds per cell and probably put about 5 to 10 there. We're going to be doing a lot of thinning, but I find this pretty hard to germinate of all the plants, so that's okay. The more the merrier at this point. We only need one good one. So, okay, that's like 8. Good. And so with this being so tiny, I kind of just firm them down after I sow them. And then barely brush anything over top of them. You really don't want to submerge these too much. I think the seed packet says 1/4 inch, but I've also read these need light to germinate. So we're going to compromise and meet in the middle with just putting a little bit on top. So hopefully that's good enough. If not, we'll start some more. Plenty of seeds to go around. So there you have it. We got onions, we got leeks, we got scallions, we got celery started. It's time to garden.